Patience is one of the greatest tests of faith, and when it comes to love, waiting for the right person can feel like one of the most difficult challenges. In a world that constantly pushes us to hurry, to act now, to chase after what we want, God's voice often whispers something different. Be still, trust me, wait. But how do you know that this waiting is not just your own hesitation or fear, but a divine instruction? How do you know that God is telling you to be patient for a specific person? One of the most powerful confirmations is divine peace in waiting, a peace that surpasses human understanding, a peace that settles your spirit even when circumstances don't make sense. When God asks you to wait for someone, He will not leave you in a state of turmoil. He will not cause you to be anxious, restless, or confused. Instead, He grants a deep inner peace that reassures you that waiting is the right thing to do. This peace doesn't come from emotions, which can change daily. It doesn't come from the situation, which might still be uncertain. This peace comes from knowing that God is in control, that He sees what you do not see, and that He is working all things together for your good. Think about how often people rush into relationships because they are afraid of waiting. Fear tells them, what if I miss my chance? What if they find someone else? What if I end up alone? But when God tells you to wait, He does not do it with fear. He does it with assurance. He reminds you that His plans will never fail, and what is meant for you will not pass you by. This kind of peace silences the voice of fear and replaces it with confidence that if this person is truly meant for you, God will bring it to pass at the right time. Sometimes waiting comes with tests of faith. You may see this person move in a different direction for a season. You may feel like things are not progressing as quickly as you would like. But even in those moments, if God has truly told you to wait, He will not allow that waiting to steal your joy. He will not let it consume your thoughts with doubt and worry. Instead, He will fill you with a supernatural peace that reassures you, I am still in control. Trust me. Many people mistake waiting for passivity. They think waiting means sitting back and doing nothing, hoping that someday everything will magically align. But waiting with peace is not about inactivity. It is about trust. It is about preparing yourself spiritually, emotionally, and mentally for what God is bringing into your life. God never calls you to wait just to keep you stagnant. When He tells you to wait, He is preparing you just as much as He is preparing the other person. This peace in waiting does not mean you won't have moments of doubt. Even the strongest believers sometimes ask, God, did I hear you right? Is this really what you want? But every time doubt creeps in, that divine peace will pull you back, reminding you that waiting is not wasted time. It is an investment in something far greater than you can see. If you are feeling frustrated in the waiting season, ask yourself, am I experiencing divine peace? Because if your heart is in turmoil, if you are constantly questioning, what if I made a mistake? What if I am wasting my time? Then it may not be God asking you to wait. When God tells you to be patient for someone, He does not leave you in confusion. His peace confirms His will. The world will always try to pressure you into rushing. People may tell you, you should move on. You should take matters into your own hands. You can't just wait forever. But when your peace comes from God, you don't need the world's validation. You don't need approval from those who don't understand what God is doing in your life. God's peace will hold you steady even when everything around you tells you to let go. One of the biggest mistakes people make is mistaking impatience for God's voice. They convince themselves that if things are not happening on their timeline, then they must take control. But real peace comes from letting God lead. It comes from knowing that He sees the full picture while we only see a tiny piece. It comes from surrendering the need to control the outcome and trusting that He is working behind the scenes. So if you feel like God is telling you to wait for someone, examine the condition of your heart. Are you experiencing peace, or are you battling constant fear? Because wherever God's will is, His peace will follow. If He has truly told you to wait, then He will give you the strength, patience, and assurance to do so without feeling burdened or lost. His peace will sustain you. And when the right time comes, when the season shifts, you will see why the waiting was necessary. You will understand that what God was preparing was far greater than what you could have rushed into. Because God's best is never found in anxiety, in impatience, or in settling for less. God's best is always accompanied by His peace. When God asks you to wait for someone, it is often because there is still unfinished growth happening in one or both of you. Love is not just about finding the right person, it is about becoming the right person. Too many relationships struggle because people enter them prematurely, before they have healed from past wounds, before they have matured emotionally, before they have developed the patience and understanding that a lasting relationship requires. God, in His infinite wisdom, does not just prepare the blessing for you, He prepares you for the blessing. Sometimes the delay you are experiencing is not about rejection, but about refinement. God is still working on you, shaping your heart, developing your character, and preparing you for what is ahead. And the same is true for the other person. Perhaps they are still learning lessons that will make them a better partner. Perhaps they are still growing into the person God needs them to be before He allows them to step into a relationship with you. If God brought you together too soon, the weight of the relationship might be too heavy for either of you to carry. This is why waiting is so important. If you rush into something before it's time, you might find yourself in a relationship that is filled with frustration, miscommunication, and unnecessary struggles, all because one or both of you are not yet ready. But when you wait on God's timing, He ensures that both hearts are aligned, not just in love, but in purpose, in vision, and in spiritual maturity. One of the biggest signs that growth is still happening is when God calls your attention back to your own personal journey. Instead of focusing all your energy on when the relationship will happen, He may be leading you to focus on your own healing, faith, and calling. Perhaps there are old wounds that still need to be healed, past heartbreaks, fears, insecurities that would cause damage if carried into the relationship. Or perhaps God is calling you to a deeper understanding of who you are in Him before He brings another person into your life. Think about it this way. If God is preparing you for a God-centered relationship, then that relationship cannot be built on emotional neediness or impatience. It has to be built on a strong foundation of faith, self-awareness, and trust in God's plan. If you enter a relationship expecting the other person to complete you, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. But if you allow God to complete you first, then you will enter that relationship whole, secure, and spiritually grounded. The same is true for the other person. You may feel ready, but they may still be in a season of growth. They may still be learning to trust God fully, to let go of past relationships, or to develop the strength and wisdom they need to be the partner God wants them to be. If you love someone, you should want them to be fully prepared, not just partially ready. Rushing into something before they have completed their growth process will only create unnecessary struggles in the future. Another reason God may be delaying the relationship is because your purpose must be prioritized. There may be things God is calling you to do, dreams to pursue, ministries to serve in, personal goals to accomplish before you step into a relationship. Too often people put their lives on hold, waiting for love to happen. But when God is involved, He will never ask you to pause your calling while you wait for someone. Instead, He will call you to keep growing, keep pursuing your purpose, and keep becoming the person He created you to be. And as you focus on growth, you will begin to see something amazing happen. The waiting will no longer feel like a burden. It will feel like a season of preparation. You will realize that God is not holding something back from you. He is setting you up for something greater. You will understand that the best relationships are not built on desperation or impatience, but on two whole, healthy, spiritually mature people coming together in God's perfect timing. Many people fear that waiting means losing their chance, that if they don't act now, they might never get another opportunity. But when God is in control, there is no fear of missing out. What is meant for you cannot be lost, and what is not meant for you cannot be forced. Instead of being anxious about when the relationship will happen, trust that God's timing is perfect. If He is asking you to wait, it is because He is preparing something greater than you can imagine. When God tells you to be patient for someone, He often does so because He is orchestrating divine alignment, ensuring that both of your paths intersect at the right time, in the right way, for the right purpose. Relationships that are truly God-ordained are not just about emotions or attraction. They are about alignment in purpose, vision, and timing. God is not just interested in putting two people together. He is interested in fulfilling His will through that relationship. Many times when you feel ready for love, but God is asking you to wait, it is because there are still things happening behind the scenes that you cannot see. Perhaps there are lessons the other person still needs to learn, experiences they need to go through, or responsibilities they need to fulfill before they are ready for the commitment God is preparing them for. It is not about whether they care about you or whether you care about them. It is about whether the timing aligns with God's greater plan for both of your lives. Imagine planting a seed. If you plant it at the wrong time of year, it may sprout but fail to thrive because the environment is not right. However, if you plant it in the right season, when the soil is prepared, when the rain comes at the right time, and when the conditions are just as they need to be, that seed will grow into something strong and healthy. The same principle applies to relationships. If you try to force a connection before both of you are ready, before your lives are properly aligned, the relationship may start but struggle to survive. But if you wait for God's perfect timing, that relationship will have a solid foundation to flourish. One of the biggest struggles people face when waiting is impatience with God's process. It is easy to believe that if something feels right now, it should happen now. But God sees the entire picture, not just the present moment. He knows what is coming in both of your lives. He knows what needs to be in place before the relationship begins, so that it does not become a distraction, a source of pain, or something that pulls either of you away from your divine assignment. Sometimes you may feel like everything is already aligned, you are ready, your feelings are clear, and you see no reason why the relationship should not happen immediately. But what if God is still arranging the details? What if He is making sure that when the two of you come together, it is not just for a moment, but for a lifetime of purpose? God's delays are not His denials. They are often His way of setting the stage for something far greater than you imagine. Another aspect of divine alignment is that both of your individual journeys must be fully aligned before God brings you together. There may be dreams you need to pursue, people you need to meet, experiences you need to go through, so that when you do step into this relationship, you are both ready for the level of commitment and responsibility that comes with it. Sometimes you may think you are waiting on them, but in reality, God is still preparing you too. A common mistake many people make is trying to force things to happen before their time. They try to rush the process, thinking that if they do not act now, they might lose their chance. But what God has for you cannot be taken away by impatience, and what is not meant for you cannot be held onto by force. If the relationship is truly from God, He will bring everything into alignment naturally without you having to manipulate circumstances or force anything to happen. Think about biblical examples of divine timing. Joseph had a dream of greatness, but he had to endure betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment before God aligned his destiny at the right moment. If he had been elevated too soon, he would not have been ready to carry the responsibility God had for him. David was anointed king as a young boy, but he had to wait years before he actually took the throne. Even Jesus waited until the appointed time to begin his ministry. In each case, God's perfect plan required patience because he was orchestrating the right moment for everything to come together. If God is asking you to wait for someone, trust that he is not just delaying things for no reason. He's aligning everything perfectly. He is making sure that both of you have the strength, the wisdom, and the faith to enter into a relationship that will not just be good, but God ordained. The last thing you want is to rush into something that falls apart because it was built outside of God's timing. The waiting season is not meant to frustrate you. It is meant to prepare you. It is meant to develop your faith, your patience, and your trust in God's process. It is meant to give both of you time to become the best versions of yourselves so that when you do come together, it is not just about love, it is about fulfilling God's purpose together. So do not be discouraged if things are not happening on your timeline. Do not let impatience push you into something before it's time. Instead, trust that if God is asking you to wait, it is because He is aligning something far greater than you can imagine. And when everything falls into place in His perfect timing, you will look back and understand why waiting was necessary. When God is leading you to be patient for the right person, one of the most powerful confirmations He gives is consistent peace and clarity. The world often tells us that love is about excitement, overwhelming emotions, or even anxiety about whether someone likes us back. But when something is truly from God, it is not marked by confusion or instability. Instead, it comes with a sense of peace that surpasses all understanding. Even in the waiting, you will feel secure in God's plan, knowing that He is guiding you in the right direction. Many times, when people are unsure about a relationship, they wrestle with doubt, fear, and internal chaos. They overanalyze every situation, question whether they are making the right decision, and struggle with a lack of clarity about where things are going. But when God is the one guiding the relationship, He brings divine assurance. You may not know all the details of how things will unfold, but there is an inner confidence that you are on the right path. This peace does not mean there will be no challenges. It does not mean that waiting will be easy or that everything will be perfect. What it does mean is that despite the ups and downs, you will not be consumed by fear. You will not have to force something to happen or manipulate circumstances to work in your favor. God's peace is different from the fleeting emotions the world offers. It is rooted in trust and faith that He is working all things together for your good. One of the ways God provides peace in a season of waiting is through His Word. When you seek Him in prayer and study the Scriptures, you will find confirmation in verses that remind you of His faithfulness. Psalm 37:7 says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him." This kind of waiting is not filled with stress or panic. It is a posture of trust, knowing that God's timing is always right. If a relationship is causing more anxiety than peace, it may be a sign that it is not yet aligned with God's will. God does not bring people into your life to leave you in a state of constant uncertainty and emotional turmoil. Instead, when He is guiding you, He will give you consistent clarity even in the unknown. You may not have all the answers, but you will have confidence in who God is and what He has promised. Many people get caught up in the idea that love should always be dramatic, that if a relationship does not come with extreme highs and lows, it must not be real. But God's love is steady, not chaotic. His way is not built on emotional roller coasters, but on firm foundations. If you feel constantly confused about whether someone is right for you, or if your relationship is marked by instability, it may be a sign that either the timing is not right or the person is not meant for you. One of the most reassuring aspects of divine peace is that it remains even when things are not going the way you expected. You may face delays, you may not understand why God is asking you to wait, but deep down, you will have an inner calm that reminds you He is still in control. When you walk in His will, you do not have to fear losing what is meant for you. What He has for you will come at the right time, in the right way, with the right person. It is also important to recognize that peace is not just about how you feel, it is about what is consistently confirmed through prayer, wisdom, and discernment. If you are constantly wrestling with doubt, it is worth asking whether God is trying to show you something. He often speaks through the people He places in your life, mentors, spiritual leaders, and those who genuinely want the best for you. When a relationship is from God, those around you who are spiritually mature will also recognize it and affirm that it aligns with His plan. Another way God provides clarity is by closing the wrong doors. If something is not meant for you, He will remove it, even if at the moment it feels painful. Sometimes people mistake closed doors for rejection, but in reality they are divine redirections. God does not withhold good things from His children, Psalm 84:11. So if something is not happening right now, it is because He has a better plan in motion. When God is telling you to be patient for that person, one of the most significant confirmations He provides is growth and preparation in both of your lives. Many times people believe that when they meet the right person, everything will immediately fall into place. However, God's way is often different. Before He brings two people together in His perfect timing, He ensures that both individuals are prepared for the relationship He has designed for them. This means that if God is asking you to wait, it is not because He is denying you love. It is because He is working on you and the other person separately, molding you both into the people He needs you to be. Sometimes this means addressing things in your life that need healing. Sometimes it means strengthening your faith, teaching you patience, or guiding you to become more emotionally and spiritually mature. Whatever the case may be, God never wastes a waiting season. One of the biggest mistakes people make is rushing into a relationship before they are ready. They assume that love alone is enough to make things work. But the truth is, a healthy, God-ordained relationship requires preparation. If you are not spiritually grounded, if your heart is still broken from past wounds, or if you lack emotional stability, a relationship, even with the right person, can struggle unnecessarily. That is why God, in His wisdom, often tells us to wait. During this waiting period, God is refining you. He may be teaching you how to communicate better, how to love unconditionally, or how to let go of unhealthy patterns that can harm your future relationship. He may be challenging you to become more patient, more understanding, and more aligned with His purpose. Every lesson He is teaching you now is not just for your benefit, it is for the benefit of your future relationship. At the same time, God is also preparing the other person. You may not be able to see it, but He is working in their life just as He is working in yours. They might be going through their own journey of growth, healing, and transformation. If they are not spiritually, emotionally, or mentally ready, the timing is not right, even if they are the right person for you. God's timing is not just about when you want something, it is about when both of you are ready for what He has planned. One of the most frustrating things for people is when they feel like they are ready, but God still tells them to wait. If that is where you are, trust that God knows what He is doing. He may see things you do not. He may know that there are still some lessons you need to learn, or perhaps He is still working on the other person, and if you met them now, things would not unfold the way they are supposed to. Trust His process. Sometimes God's preparation happens through seasons of singleness. He may be calling you to focus on your relationship with Him, to deepen your faith, or to learn how to be content in Him before bringing someone else into your life. Many people want a relationship because they believe it will make them feel whole, but a relationship is not meant to complete you. It is meant to complement what God is already doing in your life. If you are looking for another person to fill a void that only God can fill, the relationship will struggle. That is why God often asks us to wait so that we can develop a deep, unshakable foundation in Him first. God's preparation can also come through experiences and challenges that shape your character. He may take you through situations that test your patience, your faith, and your ability to love selflessly. You may have to go through a process of learning what it means to truly trust Him, even when things are unclear. If God is making you wait, it is because He is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. In this season of preparation, it is important to focus on personal growth. Use this time to develop your skills, pursue your passions, and strengthen your relationship with God. Instead of waiting passively, wait actively. Grow, learn, and become the person God has called you to be. Another key aspect of God's preparation is learning how to recognize His voice. If you are constantly seeking a relationship but not spending time in prayer, worship, and studying His Word, you may miss the signs He is giving you. The more you align your heart with Him, the clearer His guidance will become. God does not just want to give you a relationship, He wants to give you a relationship that is rooted in Him. When the time is right, you will see how everything you went through in your waiting season was necessary. The lessons you learned, the patience you developed, and the faith you strengthened will all come together. You will realize that God was not withholding love from you. He was protecting you, shaping you, and making sure that when you enter a relationship, it will be healthy, fulfilling, and centered in Him. So if God is telling you to wait, do not see it as a punishment. See it as an opportunity. He is preparing you for something greater. He is ensuring that when you do step into a relationship, it will be with the right person at the right time for the right purpose. When God is telling you to be patient for that person, one of the strongest confirmations He provides is peace in your spirit. So often when people are waiting for the right relationship, they are filled with anxiety, fear, and doubt. They wonder if they will ever meet the right person, if they are waiting in vain, or if they should take matters into their own hands. But when God is truly guiding your love story, He does not fill your heart with turmoil. He fills it with peace. This does not mean that you will never have moments of doubt or uncertainty. However, it does mean that at your core, you will have an unshakable sense of assurance that you are on the right path. When something is from God, it does not bring confusion or chaos. It brings clarity and calm. Even if you do not know exactly how things will unfold, you will have a deep inner conviction that you are exactly where you were supposed to be. This peace does not come from the situation itself. It comes from your trust in God. When you truly surrender your love life to Him, when you let go of your need to control every outcome, you will experience a sense of rest. You will no longer feel the need to rush, to force things, or to manipulate circumstances to fit your desires. Instead, you will trust that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything in His perfect timing. Many people struggle with this because they confuse peace with the absence of challenges. But peace does not mean that everything will always be easy. It means that even in the waiting, even in the uncertainty, even when things do not make sense, you can rest in the knowledge that God is in control. When He is leading you to the right person, He will not do so with pressure or fear. He will do so with peace. One of the ways you can recognize this peace is through prayer. When you spend time with God, laying your desires before Him, He will affirm His will in your heart. If a relationship or a decision is causing constant stress, tension, and spiritual unrest, it may be a sign that it is not from Him or that it is not yet time. But when something is truly part of God's plan, you will notice a stillness in your soul. Even if you do not know every detail, you will feel secure in His presence. God's peace also manifests in the way you think and feel about the relationship. Instead of constantly worrying, overanalyzing, and feeling emotionally drained, you will experience a sense of stability. God does not want you to be in a relationship where you are always second-guessing whether you are loved, valued, or wanted. When He writes your love story, He confirms it through a steady, unwavering sense of security. However, peace does not always mean immediate answers. Sometimes God calls you to wait, and in that waiting, He teaches you to rely on Him fully. If you are feeling restless, ask yourself, is this restlessness from God, warning me about something, or is it from my own impatience, wanting things to happen on my timeline? True peace comes when you trust that God's plan is better than yours. Another sign of God's peace is the way He aligns everything at the right time. Have you ever noticed how when something is forced, it feels exhausting? You are constantly trying to make things happen, trying to convince someone to love you, trying to create opportunities that do not feel natural. But when something is from God, it flows. That does not mean there will not be challenges, but it does mean that the relationship will not feel like a constant struggle for validation and security.